Hiya. Right, we're going to have a quick look at the concept of demand now in one of our short revision topics for our A-level in economics. Now, the concept of demand is vitally important to everything you do within your studies of economics this year. What I'm going to take you through in this short video is a look at some of the key factors which influence demand and really how we represent this on a demand curve. Now, the four key terms really you need to focus on when we're looking at demand is the actual definition itself, so the quantity of a good or service that consumers choose to buy at a set price in a given time period. If you're doing an exam question, for instance a 3-mark definition question, you will need to be incredibly accurate if you're defining demand. So you'll get 1 mark for the quantity of a good or service that consumers choose to buy, that's your first mark. At a set price, 2 marks. In a given time period, 3 marks. Without all 3 of those sections, you will not get your 3 marks. Now we have another concept, ceteris paribus, meaning other things being equal. So the idea behind this is that we only change one variable when we're doing something. Economists like the concept of marginals. They like to see what happens when one thing changes. Is it selling one more product? Is it just one element impacting upon demand, for instance? So it might just be a change in weather patterns, or it might be a change in the price, or it might be a change in fashions. But what will happen when one thing changes and everything else stays the same? So then we have the general law of demand, which basically states if prices go up, demand goes down, and if prices go down, demand goes up. Now, you'll follow this rule religiously, at least your first year of study of economics. Then when you'll get into the second year and you start looking at behavioural economics, you'll see that this doesn't necessarily always ring true. Then we've got the demand curve itself, which is what we're going to focus on a little bit later, which actually looks at the graph which shows the relationship between demand and price. Now, there are 3 key influences that often sort of dictate the level of demand within an economy, or for a single product in this case. So the price of goods and services you want, the price of other goods and services available, and your income. So later on, in another video, we'll look at elasticities, and we'll look at price elasticity of demand, income elasticity of demand, and cross elasticity of demand, which affects all 3 of these. Now, the main influences and the main factors which influence demand for goods and services are here. So other products and services, so how much are they being charged for these products, what's available, do they conflict with what you've got, do they improve what you've got, are they better than your product, are they worse than your products? All those kind of influences that other competitive products and services will actually have. Then we have a look at fashion, so we look at how some products coming in and come out, they're popular for a while, demand's high, then they sort of lose attract. Some products, although they may not be fashionable, they are sold and bought in the same amount for a long period of time. When we talk about fashion, we often think about clothing, and you think about the short life of fashion. So high levels of demand for short periods of time, and then impacts occurring from there onwards. Then we have advertising, so what kind of impact does advertising have on demand? And personal requirements, so this is looking at individual people and what it is they require from their products, and they will also impact on demand quite significantly. And then we've got, last but not least, seasonality. So demand for products changes at different times of the year, particularly things like ice creams, umbrellas. We see demands for these products changing based on the time of year we've got. Obviously that's a very basic view of seasonality, but there are lots of other things which affect it as well. Now, when we see demand and the price of other goods, we often see the demand changes in 2 ways to the price of the goods. First concept we have to look at is either substitute goods. So when an increase in price of one product appears, then we see a direct increase in demand of another. So similar products can replace one another, such as breakfast cereal. While Frosties go up in price, we replace them with Cocoa Pops or something like that. Because they're similar, pretty much the same product, something we eat in the morning. And we have our complement goods. So these are goods which actually work well. So an increase in price of one product leads to a decrease in demand of another. So the example here is if the price of your potatoes goes up, that's going to lead to an increase in the price of chips, and therefore we're going to have a demand for less fish, if we go on that traditional idea of fish and chips going well together. Now the demand curve is very simple. It's downward sloping, slopes from up on the left down to the right, and the idea is that it is a fairly logical straight line going down at an angle like that. Depending on the nature of a product, which is something we'll also come on to in a later video, if it's elastic or inelastic, we will see the line actually becoming more and more shallow or more deep, depending on what the nature of products and the impact that price will have. But once again, I'll come on to elasticity on a later video. So if we see any shifts or any changes of anything other than price, if we see a price change, we just see movement down the line. So for instance, if we reduce price from here to here, we see change in amount of demand. But if something else impacts upon demand, perhaps fashion, as we looked at before, or seasonality, we see a shift of demand. So an increase in demand will see a shift to the right, a decrease in demand will see a shift to the left. So that would represent, D1 represents an increase in the overall demand for this product on the market. And if it was a shift to the other side, that would represent a decrease in the overall level of demand. Now, income often has a big impact on demand as well. So we have two concepts that we need to understand, and these are normal goods and inferior goods. So a normal good is simply one that, as we earn more money, we actually purchase more of these products. An inferior good is one that, as our incomes go up, we actually demand much less of this product. So a normal good could be something along the lines of, I don't know, a Blu-ray movie. So whilst you're earning a certain amount of money, you buy one Blu-ray a week. You increase your wages, you might treat yourself to 2 a week. So we're seeing our demand increase for that. And an inferior good is one, as I said, which we reduce our demand for as our wages go up. So let's say we buy 2 cans of own brand beans from Tesco every single week. All the supermarkets are available. As our salary goes up, we now substitute that and we replace the inferior product with Heinz baked beans. Or Branston beans, whichever you prefer. So those are the basic concepts that we need to look at, and that is a basic thing we're going to stick to in this short little video. Okay then, bye. See you on the next video.